All right. So on today's episode of the CryptoCast podcast, I have Mr. Faris Taleb, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sorry.
That's correct.
Excellent. Yeah. So thanks so much for taking the time to talk, man. I know that you were panelists on our first event with CryptoMood, and I know you have a really interesting history.
Sure thing. As you can see, technology, Bitcoin, crypto, and it all works together. But the main thing, another side of me is I like to help people, and that's how I found out about Bitcoin, so to say. And it was about helping some people, refugees actually in Germany, getting money back to their country, to their families that are in need, and so on. Due to KYC, AML laws, and all those regulations. But Bitcoin is free, so we use that. I mean, that was the interesting part of it. And I mean, now my goal to help people rather than just a monetary gain as trading or stuff like that. The next natural evolution is me doing my own startup. So yeah.
I guess give us a little bit of background. Like what is the startup? Like I literally have no idea. I'm really curious.
So let's start again. So what we're doing is a startup that follows the P2P idea, but it's not just P2P lending or investing, it's a P2P donation model with blockchain in it for security reasons. So the P2P donation means that someone is in need of this money, but they can't pay it back for several reasons. And who's kind of the customer of this? Refugees, because refugees cannot open bank accounts, cannot get financing and so on. And in most of our minds, like stereotypically saying, we look at refugees as people that, they're not doctors or engineers or anything, but they actually are. They're people that finished, studies, universities, and really smart people. But, they had, sorry to say, bad luck in life, being refugees later. And without any financing, I don't think they can really go back to their normal life. So what this app does is connecting, people from first world countries like Switzerland or Germany to refugees that are in need of this money, for example, in Lebanon or Jordan. And those refugees need financing. Let's say you're a doctor, this refugee is a doctor, and they want to practice medicine in the country they're, a refugee in. But for that, you need to do a test to be able to practice medicine, and this test costs money. So let's say you got some donation for this test and it got accepted. Cool, now he can, be a doctor. But the problem is they still need financing to open a clinic. And then, and with this, even though you're a doctor, you don't have any credit history, you still need financing for that. So what our model does is we have a normal donation model, an investment model, and a hybrid model. In the case of this doctor, you can do a donation and an investment or a hybrid model. So this doctor can do donation, do the test, pass, and then the investments would be investing in this clinic so that this doctor can, pay back the investment and open, a clinic. And still, in the end, he stops being or she stops being a refugee. There are normal people, a normal person living in this country. And there's another stereotype that we all, have is that we think refugees jump around a lot. They don't. I mean, I just finished a study, and the refugees really stay, more than 2 centuries in the country they're a refugee in. And we're talking about 20 years here. So let's say someone is coming to, I don't know, Germany, they're not going away, they're staying there because their country could be a mess. It could, you don't even know if it's going to go back to a good state or not. So that's the idea. We're trying to help those refugees, bend those stereotypes, remove them, and then in the end, it could be for profit and not for profit. So the hybrid model helps everyone in the end. If investors wanted, to get back some money, it's available. If investors don't want to get the money, it's just as donation, and of course they can remove it from their tax. They can do it for tax purposes. In the end, it's helping everyone. So that's what we're looking for. And why blockchain, and the Ethereum blockchain specifically, is that we're trying to, let's say you donated to person X, refugee X, you want to make sure that this money is going to that real place, right? And for example, I mean, the UN, we donate money to them, sure, but you don't really know who's getting what, because the UN pays salaries, pays, the CEO gets money, the Red Cross, everything. So what we're trying to do is just cutting the middleman, which is the UN and the Red Cross, and going directly to the people. And I mean, instead of you paying $1 and the person getting 25 cents, you pay $1 and the refugee gets $1. That's the idea.
Yeah, because so that was actually going to be my question, was what would differentiate you guys from NGOs and other organizations like that. But I guess you just said it yourself, that they act as like the sort of middleman, and I actually never thought about that, and it's a very, very good point. That when it comes to banking, that banks are kind of the middleman between transactions from person A to company B, or to person B, and in this case it's any sort of donations. And I actually remember many years ago I was watching some YouTube video, and this guy had basically, he was talking about some sort of news, and he said they had come out with a study in the United States that I think like 97% of charities would only donate a fraction of what they got would actually go to the causes. And it was like disgusting. And he literally made a list of all the charities. He's like, don't touch any of these. And it was like all the major ones, that you hear about, or that you would think to donate to, right? And I'm not going to name any names, but just a lot of these really big, I guess, charities, is exactly what they do. And I'm really curious. So what's kind of the timeline for this then, Faraz? And like, have you already launched the app, or is it just currently in development?
So just before the app and everything, about those charities, the problem is that they have a huge business to run, right? They have rent, they have employees and all that. So I don't think they do it just because they want money. It's because they have to do it. There's no other way, because you need someone to go there, someone to manage this, and so on. And that's why the end user, or the person that's getting the donated money, doesn't get that much money. So I mean, it's just another way to fix something. Like we're saying, we're fixing the banking with cryptocurrency because you're just removing the bank, so you're just sending money from wallet to wallet. You don't need anything else. It's the same thing for this P2P donation, that I'm giving someone in a different country 10,000 miles away from here money without having this middleman taking a part of it. And it's not, I don't think what they do is bad specifically. I just think it's old now. It's a historic model, and it should change. Yeah. And for the app, so we're already building the app, and there's already a prototype for us and the investors to see. But we're waiting for next year just to make sure that the studies are all right done, and we have the right investors on board. So we're not looking for just any investors or VCs. We're really looking for someone, or a group that are trying or have the same culture that we have. Like, we really want to help people. We're not looking to maximize gains. So if by any chance this idea launches and it works perfectly, but there are no returns, we're really okay with that. We're not looking for returns. And that's what we're looking for, an investor. And it's harder to find an investor like that currently, because everyone wants a higher return for what they give, and there already are some good ideas that give you returns, and our idea is not about that at all. So that's why we're saying until next year. And the coming months we have some meetings and so on with investors. Of course, it's hard now with Corona and all the economical stuff, but we never give up. We follow one rule: like, we fall and we stand up again. It doesn't really matter. Like, if there are no investors, we'll do it by ourselves. It's not a problem.
So then in that case, Faraz, I'm curious, because I guess that was one thing that had come to mind as well, is, so what exactly would the profit model be? Or is there a mechanism there where maybe you guys are eligible for some sort of compensation for the development team or whatever? Because you said if you don't make any money, you're not too worried about it. But I guess obviously there has to be at least some level of like minimum incentive, at least I would think, like for the developers. And I guess I'm assuming that would of course come from, ideally, from some backing from some venture capital, or from some external investor. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so the current payment model is that we're paying ourselves by ourselves, like from our own investments and so on, from Bitcoin, from the old days. But in the end, so profits, we're not looking for that. But revenue, there should always be revenue in the end, because you have to pay the servers, you have to pay for any bugs, fixes, marketing, so on. And the idea here is that for every dollar that is getting donated, we don't want to take more than 5 cents maximum, right? And that is 95 cents going to the refugee, so to say. But that's one model. So the other model we're thinking of is really just being backed by the UN, by governmental institutions that want to help those refugees, because those governmental institutions are already paying money for the UN and so on to give financing for those refugees, but those refugees get less money. But if the governments, or we can get the governments to our side and pay us money, those refugees will get even more, those refugees will get even more money from our side than from the UN, for example. And that's the play we're looking for. So that's the best case scenario. The worst case would be, getting donation, 95% goes forward and 5% stays as revenue for, just continuing this model and so on.
Nice. And the other thing as well, I'll try and remember that after we finish this call, I'll actually send you I guess I worked on an article with one of our content writers. We actually wrote an article about cryptocurrency charities and associated funds. So if you're interested, I mean, I'm sure you probably know more about it than we do, but I could send you over this article because my immediate thing that comes to mind is I know that there I think from the guy who does Coinbase. He has some big, he wants to donate like $1 billion to cryptocurrency initiatives or whatever in the coming years, like not as a venture capital, but just literally just to donate. Is there anything like that you've heard about or know about?
I mean, we did not look for that at all. So, I mean, that would be interesting. I would love to read that article. Like, if you can send it, that would be awesome. Yeah.
That's sweet, man. And out of curiosity, I vaguely recall that you said that you were based in Switzerland. Is that still the case?
Yeah. I mean, I live here. I was born here. I'm, Swiss.
No, that's awesome, man. No, because I guess you had mentioned, because you said there was in Germany. So I thought that you were in German and then you had moved to Switzerland. No.
So I actually lived in Germany and Switzerland and Jordan. So I lived in lots of countries, and I worked in all three countries. And, that's why kind of met so a lot of refugees, specifically in Germany and Jordan, because those two countries had one of the highest inflow of refugees. And I mean, I saw the pains that they had. And I mean, we're lucky here that, we have a country and, just living normally. The worst thing that we can say is maybe getting sick, but if you look at those people, I mean, it's sad. It's really sad, and the help that they're getting, sure, they do get help, but it's nearly not enough, right? It's yeah.
So I wanted to get your thoughts, I guess, on where you see, I guess, cryptocurrency going just in general, like the space over the next few years. Do you think it's going to keep growing? And how has the coronavirus affected you? And how do you think it's going to continue affecting cryptocurrency, or even specifically what it is that you're doing?
I mean, coronavirus affected historical models like working in the office. I don't know, those jobs. It's not affecting cryptocurrencies or anything, to be honest, right? Technology does not stop with viruses or anything. It's just different. But I mean, in my case, I'm a huge believer of Bitcoin. So I don't really believe in other cryptocurrencies that they can be something as useful as Bitcoin. But I mean, I think you saw this YAM now the last week or so. I mean, come on. So there's lots of things you can make money on, but they're they're just gambling in the end. But if we're talking about Bitcoin, no, I still do believe Bitcoin is a currency that's staying for long, and probably, I hope forever, because it's helping a lot of people. Though one thing is that it's changing from the currency that we had in 2014, is that for freeing yourself from the banks and everything, and changing more into an investment vehicle. So to say, like gold that you can, take everywhere. I mean, it's not bad, so to say, but it's not what or why Bitcoin was created, as far as I am concerned. But still, why not? I'm looking, investing in Bitcoin is always top priority. So yeah.
Amen to that one. Yeah, I do. I guess I do a lot of writing about these other cryptocurrency projects, and I remember when I was looking through, I think the top 200 or 500. I want to say that 99.9% of cryptocurrencies are speculative and probably just scams. They're scams. I'm not even gonna try and sugarcoat it. They're just scams. and there's maybe, maybe 10, maybe 15 if you're pushing it, that have any sort of viability where they have, like a solid backing, solid team, like partnerships, whatever. But the thing is that in terms of, I have yet to see, believe it or not, and I mean, I'm sure you believe it. I have yet to see anything, because like you said, that Bitcoin was intended to be sort of a means of payment, and now people see it more as like a store of value. And the thing is that I have yet to see any cryptocurrency, like for example, Ethereum is, of course, it's this like a platform for decentralized finance and whatever. But I have yet to see any cryptocurrency that has come to kind of fill that, I guess, spot of being the payment, network cryptocurrency. And I think that all of them are kind of fighting over that. And no one's, I mean, Bitcoin, at the end of the day, I think most payments in crypto are still going through Bitcoin, even though it's technically now considered to be a store of value. At least that's been my personal experience. What's your thoughts there?
I mean, it is a store of value, though. Sending Bitcoin is still faster than sending money through banks from country A to country Z. But if you look at if Switzerland, for example, if I want to send you in Switzerland money, it doesn't take a split second. So you don't really need Bitcoin or blockchain. So the thing is, it might be good for remittances, right? 100%. But still, if you go to Western Union and I'm sending you money in, I don't know, North Africa, you can get it in like 2 minutes from Western Union. So why should Bitcoin stay as a payment method if it can be a store of value? So and also it's not bad if it's a store of value. It's also something good, because you're storing value against inflation, against printing of the fiat money and so on. So that's also good. I think we would know in the next 4 or 5 years what's going to happen with the economy in the US and all that printing and so on. So it would be interesting, but Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and then there's the other coins like Monero or the privacy coins. But sure, they're private coins, but there's not so many people using them compared to Bitcoin, right? So privacy is not a big concern. If it was, then those coins would be way bigger, have a higher market cap than Bitcoin. So here's the thing. I mean, I do believe what you say, that 99% are just nothing. And the other 1%, should be something interesting, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, I don't know, Tezos. They're interesting projects and so on. But in the end, Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and everything else is everything else, right?
Starting to sound like a maximalist there, Faraz. That's fair, man. No, I can kind of understand the sentiment. I guess for me, I have my head so deep in it that sometimes I'm like, oh, but my instinct is to be like, oh, but have you heard of this? Like this kind of obscure project or what have you. But anyways, for us, just to wrap up, I wanted to get I guess some information. So if we would want to know more about your project, what was the name of the project? I don't think I actually caught that. Do you have websites or social media or anything we can go, and is there anything like that up yet, or no?
We did not do anything like that yet. But a name, we're trying to get a good name, and we still not find anything. So we just called P2P donation, because the whole definition, P2P donation, is not available. There's nothing like that currently. So I just finished my master's thesis about this whole project and so on. So yeah, I mean, we should get a website running by October. That's the plan and goal. And by next year, there should be everything kind of ready. We hope so. Yeah.
So next year, I guess for 2021, then is like the goal.
Exactly. Like 2021, January or February would be starting to launch for refugees in specific countries. So we're aiming Jordan and Germany as a beginning. And then there's other, Lebanon, Sweden, Norway, the countries that also have refugees but are way more technologically advanced, right? Like Sweden, they already have lots of things for refugees, and this would be helpful for them, I would say.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. So I guess in that case, maybe we'll speak again once everything's launched, and we can get kind of your take on if anything's changed, or I mean, I'm pretty excited. I'm a huge fan of all these projects that are coming out, and I think my favorite thing is when someone comes in and they kind of break, like you said, like the old system, and they present something that's new and more efficient and, you know, just better for everyone all around.
Yeah. I mean, that's the idea. I think with all this technology nowadays, you can change so many things. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, there's not so many ideas around." There are so many ideas. You just have to work and do them. I mean, there's so much things that are working backwards historically and not efficient. You can do whatever you want in the end. I mean, it doesn't have to be in blockchain, but blockchain does help. Those ideas. I would say the following of money or ideas that are following finance, so to say, would be really helpful for blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. Like I just know sometimes some of my friends will say like, oh, you know, we have it so hard, there's no opportunity and there's no innovation, it's all over. And I'm thinking like, just look, you know, just think outside. And I think that again, I think this is an issue maybe of like institutions and what we learn in school and university is we have kind of these blinders on and especially, you know, forget even cryptocurrency, but there's just so many things. Like I read yesterday that they found a way of turning regular bricks that, you know, regular red bricks that you used to build buildings, they can use them, they can turn them into rechargeable batteries that can be recharged 10,000 times. And all they have to do is you put like a special plastic coating and it will keep the energy inside the brick and you can just imagine just literally just putting a wire against the wall and plugging it into your laptop. Like, it's just insane. Like, it's going to completely change, you know, and people are like, oh, but there's no, it's like, well, no, there's just so much opportunity there. Anyway, but I'm sure you and I could go back and forth on that one forever, but
Absolutely. I mean, I do believe everything is online now. You can find whatever you want. You want to learn how to, I don't know, create some electricity, Google it and you can do it, right? It's very simple. Everything is online. You can learn whatever you want. You can create whatever you want, and it costs you literally nothing. So
yeah. And then, so any closing thoughts, Faraz, before we wrap up?
I mean, I was happy to talk to you. So that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, let's see what happens with my project and everything, and maybe you can talk again when it's up and going.
Sounds good, man. And I'll send you that article, and maybe I'll shoot you a few name recommendations because I tend to be pretty good with that. Everyone comes to me with that stuff, so maybe I'll get something that can get you closer to a name.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks so much for us. Take care, man.
Cheers.
Bye bye.